Hello everybody, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Craig Shardlow. Feel free to tweet me throughout my presentation at my username @C_Shardlow. For those of you who don't know, that piece of music that some of you might have heard about 15 times there was Heartbreak Hotel by Elvis Presley. A breakthrough single for him in 1957, not only for the King, but for the record label His Master's Voice. Once a brand, label and retail establishment related with quality is now a struggling business model facing potential closure in its 91st year. Which leads me to my presentation title, Retail or Refail? How detrimental to the UK recording music industry could the potential collapse of HMV be? Now the HMV we know today was founded in 1921 for its flagship store in Oxford Street, London. Nowadays relating to themselves as the UK and Ireland's leading entertainment brand, enabling comprehensive access to much of today's popular culture through its chain of stores and online and digital sales, as well as its growing live venues, festivals, ticketing and promoting and artist management operations. Since 1921, HMV has acquired many businesses and expanding their revenue streams and their outlets, such as Waterstones in 1988, sold last year for a profit of £11.5 million. Entertainment retailer FOP in 2007, and a 50% share in digital company 7 Digital to power its HMV digital outlet, as well as promotional and artist tickets and the Mama Group in 2009, which is set to be sold this year for around £60 million to clear its outstanding debt. So what is HMV's current issue? Here's a BBC report to overlook the new issue.
It used to be the place to get your music. If an artist's song or album wasn't on sale at HMV, then commercial success would be elusive. Then came the internet, where songs and entire films could be downloaded at the click of a mouse and without having to go to the high street. Some like Apple and Amazon reacted in time to the new technology, but HMV, by its own admission, didn't. So today, not for the first time in recent years, HMV has posted a notable fall in sales, down 22%. That, of course, was unavoidable, with the chain shutting down 29 of its stores. Only 150 now remain. It's also had to sell its book retailing side, Waterstones, to slash its costs.
Well, on the face of it, today's numbers are as gloomy as expected, with a like-for-like sales decline of 15% in retail sales. So, yet more bad news. Entertainment as a category, really is sort of dying. It's all shifting to digital, and piracy is a big issue as well. There is a glimmer of hope. They've introduced technology ranges into 6 pilot stores. Sales at those stores have doubled. They're rolling that out to 150 units in the chain, so that is much, much better news. But will it be enough to save HMV longer term? That clearly remains to be seen.
So now the music and DVD retailer is changing what it sells in those remaining stores by focusing more on hi-fi like MP3 players or tickets for large concerts. Having had a stay of execution by its bankers last June, HMV has a chance to endure this downturn, but if the economy dips back into recession, then no retailer, however well known, can be assured of survival. Joe Lynham, BBC News.
So quite a gloomy report there from the BBC last September. So what is HMV's current situation in the sum up? At the beginning of 2012, HMV was operating over 209 stores, down from a massive 273 in 2009. Their net debt now currently stands at around £163 million, and their subsidiaries such as Waterstones, as previously mentioned, was sold last year. Mama Group could be sold this year as well, and HMV Tickets have now been partnered with Ticketmaster to operate under a new licensing scheme. So with HMV's future, as the BBC report refers to as bleak, and their multi-channel approach somewhat harming their retail identity, how is the recording industry dealing with this? Well, this year, record labels have changed their supply term to a pay-as-you-sell model, whereby HMV can only pay for the stock that it sells in its stores, instead of paying and ordering units up front. This initiative is to drastically reduce HMV's outstanding debt, hopefully by half within the next 3 years, and aid their financial stability. CEO Simon Fox states that this initiative can allow HMV to put more space for music in their stores and place focus back on providing customers with a wide range of music spanning a vast amount of genres. So what have the industry given behind these reasonings for these backing, considering it's such a struggling business model? Universal's CEO and The Universal CEO David Joseph has said that HMV is a vital part to the music industry. Its sheer size, audience and nationwide status is key in connecting fans with their music. And most interestingly is this quote, which I'll refer to later on, is the one that's a press release from 7 labels, including the 4 majors, Domino, Ministry of Sound and Beggars Group, who have stated, "We are continuing to supply HMV with our music, and they are continuing to do much more than sell it. It's their unique approach which plays a vital role in breaking new artists and supporting British culture in its broadest sense. HMV is at the heart of the industry and they have support from each of us." Interestingly, as I said, I'll refer back to this quote later. So could the potential closure of HMV be detrimental to our industry? We can't exactly predict the future, but what we can do is look at previous models that have collapsed and seen in our industry, such as the closure of Woolworths in 2008. Woolworths, at its closing year, operated 10.2% of all physical sales, second only to HMV. The multi-product chain controlled around 815 stores nationwide, but liquidized in December 2008 after failing to pay off its outstanding debts of over £385 million. As well as its retail outlets, Woolworths also controlled major distributor EUK Distribution, which controlled around 1.5% of all albums sold in the UK. So how did the closure of this giant affect the music industry today? Retail Week stated that this could have been the worst thing to happen to the recorded music industry. Obviously, this guy had not heard of Phil Collins. So, if we look at it on the surface, the closure of Woolworths did not actually affect our industry as much as this guy said it would. Units were down 3.2%, a regular figure for the current decline of record sales. But the most interesting thing is the value of sales, which is the monetary value that album sales got in that year. Albums dropped by 5.3%, which is technically due, which marketing believes, is highly related to Woolworths' last quarter selling albums at a considerably low price from £1 to £3. But the major effect of Woolworths' closure on our industry was the closure of its distribution arm EUK. Operating around 1.7% of all UK albums sold, EUK was a key distributor for Sainsbury's, WH Smith, Tesco, Morrison's and many independent stores, but most importantly, entertainment retailer Zavvi. Due to Zavvi's exclusive distribution licence with EUK, Zavvi soon followed suit with Woolworths in the UK into administration at the end of 2008, with 155 of its stores closing nationwide. Within 4 months, 19.8% of the UK's retail market was gone. Furthermore, EUK's closure, according to The Economist, was responsible for half of the 33 independent stores that closed in that year, with exclusive supply agreements leading to a high amount of debt which they were unable to pay within such a short amount of time. An independent distributor, Pinnacle, collapsed after losing nearly 20% of its client base, which was obviously Zavvi and Woolworths. Though this was a huge blow for the industry, bodies such as HMV, Boulevard Entertainment and the Association for Independent Music acted as saviours for this. HMV were able to buy 32 of the Zavvi stores in 2009 and started, which it still carries on today, its pop-up store scheme, and whereby opening 10 temporary stores throughout the last quarter of the year, whereby there was no HMV, Woolworths or Zavvi in that area to meet the demand of seasonal trade, proving to be a highly successful scheme. Furthermore, Boulevard Entertainment was able to acquire EUK stock for around £30 million, yet without the consent of the labels it took from. And the Association for Independent Music came to the rescue for multiple independent labels, left without a distributor for a key moment in the year, though numerous labels such as V2 and Zomba were affected and consequently acquired by majors by this effect. So, is this going to be Woolworths Episode 2? Well, not necessarily. We have to put HMV's size into consideration. Their overall market share, including its online division, controls 27% of the UK market, which is operating in 2010. This is 50% larger than Zavvi and Woolworths shares combined. Furthermore, HMV's variety in products has to be taken into account, with Woolworths' main focus on chart and lower price margin stock compared to HMV's much wider variety. HMV has a client base ranging from rock and pop to classical, a highly profitable sector that Woolworths didn't provide for, and one that is highly driven by physical sales. Finally, though HMV does not have a distributor subsidiary such as Woolworths in EUK, Its collapse could create a domino effect, which is similar or much worse than that of Woolworths. Losing nearly for 30% of your client base could lose vital income for distributors, leading to possible administrations and, most importantly, people's jobs. But how is HMV different from its previous rivals, such as Woolworths? As previously stated, record labels state that HMV is not only selling products, but it's their unique approach which plays a vital role in breaking new artists and supporting British culture. How is this so? In-store appearances are a high priority for HMV, with an average of 350 music-related signings a year, directly generating 1.5 million sales of recorded music a year. That's 1.5 million albums directly related for an hour's signing session, with signings this year including Justin Bieber, Paul McCartney, One Direction, and a personal favourite, Meatloaf. So, to have a look at this, Simon Eltringham, HMV's in-store live manager, allowed me access into HMV's records to see how their promotional activity can aid an artist's album sales. Ed Sheeran, a hotly tipped act for 2012, on his debut album was able to generate over 3,000 sales for a value of over £32,000. If you look at those individual figures as seen on the board, with over 800 sold in Norwich and Ipswich, these figures are a huge boost for his average weekly sales, which were around 98 CDs per week in the average retail outlet of HMV. Not only sales, but the level of PR that is generated through these events is substantial. Sheeran alone was able to be featured in local media such as the MEN and Time Out, as well as national publications such as Enemy, The Guardian, international blog Pitchfork. Also, his article in The Guardian covering this tour was featured in the top 5 most viewed stories that week on enemy.com. But we've got to look at, obviously, HMV. Obviously, Ed Sheeran is part of backed by a major label. So why do we look at the classical market instead? Welsh singer Catherine Jenkins, on a 3-day HMV tour, accumulated over nearly 1,500 sales, having a monetary value of around £15,000. As shown, her hometown appearances able to generate double the sales of that of Manchester and 500% higher sales than her average weekly sales at HMV. With this, Jenkins had national coverage from The Independent, Classical FM and BBC Radio 2, as well as local publications such as MEN, Time Out and BBC Wales on the local coverage. Quite substantial publicity for only 3 appearances. Obviously, both of these artists are on major labels as previously stated, with major promotional backing and the marketing budget to allow them to do a substantial tour at HMVs. So what about an artist without this backing? Young Guns, a Buckinghamshire band, self-released album Bones incorporated a 3-day HMV tour into its debut week in their release. As you can see, not a substantial amount of sales as Jenkins and Ed Sheeran, but regarding their promotional backing and DIY label, Young Guns were still able to accumulate nearly 300 sales and were around the value of £3,000. With their average weekly sales at HMV being around 25 per store normally, they were able to increase their sales by up to 500% in some of their appearances. Media coverage was not so widespread as Sheeran and Jenkins, but did spread into more niche publications such as The Fly, and blogs such as Gorilla vs Bear, and local media such as the MEN again. However, is this promotional tactic unique to HMV as the record labels say it is? Not necessarily. Singer-songwriter Kate McGill set on a promotional tour with coffee chain Cafe Nero to promote her album Replaced. Her management allowed me to the access of her sales figures for this tour. As you can see, in her first week of sales and date, only 34 units were acquired, around the value of £270,000. Quite minuscule compared to the previous examples, though this can be seen as Kate McGill's promotional backing is quite small regarding her unsigned status and no major PR company helping her to promote this activity. McGill received reasonable PR from music websites such as AAA Music, Love Music Life and deadpress.com, and some local publications, yet no national publications were accessed. Given Young Gun's DIY status, it seems that sales from these events should be a lot higher in Kate McGill's sense. Furthermore, from Cafe Nero's point of view, they do not have the promotional expertise or the national audience to promote an artist within their brands. This connection with music fans, which they don't really have, is something that's not earned overnight. It's something that's produced and gained over time. So could this be an alternative to HMV? Not necessarily, as these sales do not contribute towards her push for chart success due to Cafe Nero not being licensed to the official charts company. So these sales only accounted towards her own account. So this narrows the amount of venues that are able to, host these sort of events. Independent stores such as Rough Trade and Piccadilly Records in Manchester still provide the occasional in-store signing, with Rough Trade hosting around 4 shows a week. However, these stores aren't a national chain like HMV, and few and far between, with only 128 being able to hold in-store signings, and about 75% of these being licensed to the official charts company. Furthermore, these stores are predominantly based around niche markets and vinyl releases, which would probably exclude such artists as Catherine Jenkins and Ed Sheeran from their artistic programming. So supermarkets are another example for this. Yet the major issue here, as Thomas touched on previously, is the band and brand relationship coming into fruition. Nadine Coyle's tour for Tesco's for her debut album Insatiable, exclusively released through Tesco stores, famously failed to help her album break the top 40, only landing at around 47, with the largest audience at a 200 capacity corporate event at London's Tesco branch. As James Hall, the Telegraph's retail editor, states, commoditising certain genres of music quite literally to the level of potato makes no sense. Supermarkets are not affiliated in the right way that HMV and other niche stores are, and fail to provide that customer experience that you can gain in a record store. Obviously, HMV is the current leader in artist retail connection. As highlighted with Kate McGill, it is still possible to create an alternative for these promotional outlets, but it is a question of how successful these events can be, and considering the HMV's national scope and promotional expertise, large and smaller scale artists additionally, the correct licensing to help promote these more large and smaller scale artists, the correct licensing to not only hold live events but submit their sales to the official charts company needs to be considered. So what else does HMV uniquely do to promote British artists, as record labels say? Well, HMV's Next Big Thing Festival, a week-long festival in February, aimed at promoting up-and-coming British artists in an intimate venue for the small price of £10, has proved to be a successful scheme for HMV, programming around 100 new bands over 9 UK festivals, with specially curated nights from labels such as Universal, UMG, Domino and The Fly Publications, as well as thorough coverage from XFM. HMV has seen moderate success through this, with the careers of Ellie Goulding, Jessie J and Mike Snow at these events all being catapulted, both in 2011 and 2010 selling out. Yet again, is this unique to HMV? Do their competitors do this, and can we operate without this scheme? As you all know, iTunes Festival does seem to be a lot larger and more substantial festival for UK artists. Curated over 30 nights in London's Roundhouse Festival, it's a major event in the annual live music calendar, hosting to an audience of 60,000 people, with 60 acts and with major coverage from ITV2. However, as much as this is a larger scale event compared to Next Big Thing, iTunes Festival does fail in promoting grassroots artists, and more specifically British artists, programming action from a range of Jay-Z, Madonna and England's One Direction. iTunes is focusing in on more commercial acts to reach a wider audience, which is fair enough in their case. Furthermore, iTunes are able to create 2 revenue streams from these events, as each gig is recorded and sold via their online digital outlet, something which HMV is only recently taking up in 2012's Next Big Thing Festival. Again, HMV is seen to be a follower rather than an innovator in the market. So finally, how is HMV still promoting artists and British culture, as it says? Well, its exclusive partnership with the official charts company and Music Great campaign last week saw HMV start a nationwide search through their Facebook, website and mobile app for the public to vote for their top 60 British albums of all time, to time the Jubilee year. With a launch night featuring a live set from Jessie J in their Oxford Street store, this campaign in their stores has increased sales. For example, Liverpool One CD sales last week alone increased by 22%. something which their rivals are not promoting in themselves, though iTunes last week have stated that this campaign has helped David Bowie reach #1 in their music video charts. So although HMV are providing a substantial platform for British artists, they are still losing out on vital sales, as seen with David Bowie. Furthermore, such activities as the My Inspiration campaign allows artists as big as Florence Welch, Noel Gallagher and smaller acts such as Benjamin Francis Leftwich and Two Doll Cinema Club to express a lyric, quote or film that has influenced them throughout their career. Though an innovative campaign and one that goes fittingly with their tagline "Get Closer," there is no evidence that this campaign aids their music sales. However, compared to their competitors, does provide a deeper connection to their audience. So the industry says that HMV is vital, and evidence suggests that there are alternatives to their retail stock and promotional activities. But it's still a keystone in providing experiences that can directly lead to sales of music, minus their My Inspiration campaigns. So why are they in the state they're in? People say that HMV is the heart of the industry, when really everyone forgets that nowadays the consumer is king. A report from Music Alley stated that innovation is key in today's music industry. HMVs must give consumers a reason to choose its services over more trusted and valued brands, otherwise it will not be able to halt the decline. The modern day consumer demands flexibility to access their music and video content, and most importantly they want to access it wherever, whenever and on whatever device they choose. A report on The Economist suggests that if HMV were no longer around, the casuals would still shop at the supermarkets. The 50 quids, a retail outlet term referring to people from 30 quid to 40, 30-year-old to 40, would still shop online, and the kids would still rip. But most interestingly, a Music Alley report said that the retail margin-centric model, that whilst slightly applicable to the MP3 market, is utterly at a loss in the streaming and access business. HMV is currently developing its classic listening post app into its mobile format in order for fans to scan the barcodes on products in their stores and listen before they try, as well as downloading the digital versions, physical releases they buy in store, instantly to their handheld device, as well as integrating their loyalty scheme, Pure HMV, which according to their annual report has over 1.8 million members, into the app, allowing them to share content with friends, family, and only one time being able to sell this onto their own competitors, onto their friends, The only time can tell whether this concept will be able to help in the innovation that Music Alley says HMV needs. So what are the conclusions from this presentation? Previous entertainment closures have seen that the market, in terms of the structure, can be affected. Such distributors as Pinnacle and EUK can have a domino effect, such as Woolworth's closure. Yet sales have never been dramatically hampered due to the online accessibility of music in the modern day. HMV has proved to be a highly influential company in the music retail market and could create a large chain of events, as previously stated, with 30% of client bases being lost through HMV. But what's to say this will only be short term and like the effects of Woolworths? HMV as a brand has proven to be highly influential on record sales, artists and its consumers with its marketing campaigns, such as in-store signings and The Music Is Great. With such responses from musical acts and the public engaging with these activities, and it is seen that artists as well as its consumers are proud to be affiliated with the brand, unlike supermarkets. Furthermore, HMV as a promotional tool has not proven itself totally unique to the industry though, but a highly successful brand in hosting events that can elevate an artist's music sales, which is, competitors and new models seem to not replicate, such as Kate McGill. However, HMV as a business model, and which is most important in their new stance, is that it's not proved itself to be indispensable. Though customers are highly engaged with their marketing campaigns, they are increasingly reliant on digital and online platforms that can provide them with unlimited stock and accessibility from anywhere and wherever. Overall, HMV, as the last British music chain, still needs to provide the indispensable products and services that match the emotional attachment the public have with their brand. which they don't seem to have with the majority of their customers. HMV has proved to be vital to our industry, but is it vital to our consumers? Essentially, if they don't act immediately, HMV might not be the top dog for much longer. Thank you, and any questions?
Any questions?
Ready? Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
Not just specifically talking about like music and entertainment, but do you not think generally most retail is more or less screwed?
It is, like, as the report says, that the British High Street is at a loss at the moment. Like, online retailers, like you said, accessibility is key to modern day consumers. Unless you can provide exclusivity to your products, which HMV doesn't. They provide something that's online at play.com, amazon.com, or even hmv.com, or even on iTunes. And that's why they're developing their in-store experience now with the new listening app, but not necessarily innovating their products or working with record labels to make an exclusive product, which I still think they need to do in the future to create a sustainable business.
Question, just in case you didn't hear it, was, is retail screwed? Jack, was that you?
You mentioned that the major record labels and some of the larger indies have showed support. I know they got together and wrote a letter to one of the major newspapers, just showing the support. But how far do you think this could go if they did kind of come into trouble? Do you think the major record labels would ever actually support them financially, or if they were going to go under, do you think they would consider actually buying the brand?
So how far could the record labels actually come in and support, rather than saying just that the linchpin of our industry? Will they actually go in and put their money where their mouth is to save the brand or buy out the brand?
As in, will record companies put money into
Yeah, will
HMV to help them?
they bail them out, basically?
Well, obviously, as it said, entertainment as a retail platform is still a failing thing. And obviously record labels are still tight within their budgets, as so they say. So I don't necessarily think that they'll be able to provide the monetary platform. I think they just need to provide the stock, which HMV doesn't provide. Obviously, vinyl sales are kind of increasing, and independent stores seem to be helping themselves, obviously Record Store Day and everything. But I don't know, HMV needs to provide, stand on its own two legs, and I don't think that any monetary help will necessarily help them. They just really need to provide that business model to help themselves, really.
Any other questions?
I think we've spoken about it a little bit on Twitter and stuff like that. People are saying maybe HMV are trying to do too much. Do you think if they downsized and really focused on maybe like the charts and films that people want to see, they'd benefit more?
So Zach's question is, do they just need to focus more? Are they trying to do too much, and are we not sure what HMV are for anymore?
Shall I shout?
Shout.
No, I definitely think that's a great point. HMV over the last 3 years, they've included T-shirts, which is still a great little commodity for them, but they've also introduced food and drink into their outlets. And it's like the kind of retail brands and their identity and what they stood for. And like I said at the beginning, it was a brand that was affiliated with quality and necessary for the music industry. Now it's not necessarily the case. They're confused in the marketing outlet, and I definitely think that's a good point. They need to scale down, and like they said, they need to start focusing on either creating a wide range of products. Obviously tech is still good for them, and it's related to music, and film's still a great platform for them as well. But I think the crap that surrounds them, like what is Kat's thing that she was talking about the other day, the Lady Goo Goo thing, they sell those little toys in there now, and them as a brand, it's not what you affiliate with HMV anymore. If anything, it's become mumble jumble, and they definitely need to scale it down.
Any other questions? One of them, Jack?
I know we spoke about the other day, I don't know much about it, but I seen Niall mention on the Twitter feed that the gaming department isn't the best. Do you think they're missing an opportunity here with closure of Game, which was the largest retailer of games in the UK? Do you think they should jump on that and try and take advantage of it?
I definitely. Sorry, do you want to?
Following the closure of Game, is there a niche there that they could jump into, basically, and up the ante with their games department?
Definitely. Well, for some reason, I saw a report the other day which says in 2011 the game industry was shrunk more than the music industry, but I think it was about like 10%. I might be wrong on that, but I think that's what I saw. But especially, obviously, the game administration was very recent as well, and I definitely think they need to monetize on this. But as necessary, like I said, HMV is still not providing that indispensable platform. If they don't have the game in stock, people are able to go online and sometimes for a lot cheaper price at the loss leader tactics of the competitors. And but you know, like I said, I think they need to focus on the core products rather than the smaller products that they seem to be offering around trying to get that kind of millions of £1 kind of products, rather than focusing on smaller amounts of maybe £30 products which they can sell.
Okay, thank you very much.